Oke, kemarin kita sampai sini. Ada yang ingat sampai mana kita kemarin? Increase and inflation ya, kemarin ya sampai sini ya. Halo, tolong kameranya dinyalakan semua. Oke, thank you. Oke, kemarin kita sampai dengan inflation. Nah, apa yang terjadi kalau increase riskiness of other asset? Jadi kalau misalnya other asset, misalnya saham, misalnya saham misalnya bertambah apa? Bertambah risky, bertambah apa? Risikonya. Katakan lagi apa? Krisis ekonomi. Ya, krisis ekonomi saham itu risiko. Ketika saham berisiko, orang daripada duitnya taruh di saham, taruh di tabungan. Kalau orang duitnya taruh di tabungan, berarti supply-nya naik. Supply naik berarti supply geser ke kanan. Ketika supply geser ke kanan, interest rate naik atau turun? Oke, mungkin baru pemanasan ya. Saya ingatkan lagi yang kemarin, mungkin agak itu. Terakhir kita ngomongkan tentang kalau supply atau demand dari uang ini berubah, apa efeknya terhadap interest rate. Jadi kalau demand geser kanan kiri ngefek ke interest rate, supply geser kanan kiri juga ngefek ke interest rate. Demand demand terhadap uang itu adalah kalau orang banyak yang mau pinjam uang di bank, itu demand. Masih ada yang ingat supply itu apa kalau gitu? Demand itu kan mengacu orang banyak atau sedikit yang pinjam uang. Kalau supply mengacu ke apa?
Yang punya duit, Pak.
Yang punya duit terus duitnya
Pinjemin,
di depositukan ke bank.
dipinjamkan.
Ya, ya sama aja maksudnya. Didepositkan ke bank, sama
Iya,
banknya dipinjemin ke orang-orang kan ya. Nah, itu supply-nya.
iya.
Oke? Nah, kemarin kita ngomong kalau demand ini geser kiri kanan atau orang yang mau ngutang ini makin banyak atau makin sedikit, itu ngefek ke interest rate. Demikian pula kalau supply geser ke kiri kanan, dengan kata lain banyak atau sedikit orang yang mau mendepositokan uangnya, itu ngefek juga ke interest rate. Oke? Ingat? Nah, ini kasus-kasus apa aja yang membuat supply atau demand itu geser kiri kanan. Bisa increase rate, increase interest rate, increase inflation, dan sebagainya. Eh, ini kita sekarang ngomong riskiness of other asset. Misalnya saham. Kalau saham makin berisiko, orang nggak berani naruh saham. Kalau nggak berani naruh uang di saham, mereka naruhnya ke tabungan. Kalau orang memindahkan uangnya dari saham ke tabungan, berarti banyak yang nabung, berarti supply-nya naik. Ketika supply naik, supply geser ke kanan. Oke? Ketika supply geser ke kanan, interest rate naik atau turun? Coba dioret-oret di kertas. Kalau misalnya supply yang geser ke kanan, interest rate naik atau turun?
Turun, Pak.
Turun. Oke? Increase expected return of other asset. Jadi aset lain itu diperkirakan keuntungannya bertambah. Misalnya saham, diperkirakan ke depan ini ekonomi growth tinggi. Kita perkirakan saham naiknya banyak. Jadi orang rame-rame naruh duitnya di saham. Ketika orang rame-rame naruh duitnya di saham, jumlah orang yang nabung berkurang. Jumlah orang yang nabung berkurang, berarti supply geser ke kiri. Ketika supply geser ke kiri, interest rate-nya naik atau turun?
Naik.
Naik. Oke. Increase economic condition, move demand to the right. Jadi makin banyak orang mau pinjam duit. Kenapa? Kalau kondisinya itu bagus, orang itu berani ngutang karena mereka yakin akan bisa bayar. Ketika banyak orang mau ngutang, demand geser ke kanan, sehingga interest rate naik atau turun kalau demand geser ke kanan?
Turun.
Yuk,
Naik.
naik.
Turun.
Naik. Coba dioret-oret di kertas. gambar supply demand, terus demand di kamu gambar geser ke kanan, akan kelihatan naik. Oke, sama ceritanya kalau di pasar barang demand geser ke kanan berarti banyak yang beli kan ya, namanya banyak yang beli tentu harga naik. Oke, increase government deficit, geser demand ke kanan. Kenapa? Pemerintah itu termasuk salah satu pihak yang suka ngutang di pasar. Ngutang dalam pemerintah itu ngutang kalau dia itu jual surat utang. Jadi ketika pemerintah jual obligasi pemerintah, surat utang negara, itu sama aja kayak pemerintahnya ngutang. Nah, kapan pemerintah ngutang? Kalau budgetnya defisit. Pemasukan negara paling banyak itu dari apa?
Pajak.
Pajak, betul. Pemasukan negara itu terutama dari pajak, pengeluaran macam-macam, bayar pegawai negeri, pembangunan dan sebagainya. Ketika pengeluaran lebih besar dari pemasukan, tentu pemerintah harus nyari nomboknya dari mana? Biasanya dengan ngutang. Jadi ketika makin besar government deficit, makin besar pemerintah akan ngutang. Termasuk juga geser demand ke kanan sehingga interest rate-nya naik. Oke? Sampai sini oke?
Oke, gitu.
Nah, bab ini pada intinya, inti keseluruhannya adalah bahwa uang itu ternyata sama kasusnya kayak barang. Jadi harga, kalau pada barang itu kita ngomong harga, kalau pada uang kita ngomong interest rate. Kalau demand barang itu naik, garis demand geser kanan, harga barang naik. Sama dengan ini, ketika demand akan uang itu geser kanan, bertambah geser kanan, interest rate naik. Demand geser kiri, interest rate turun. Sama kayak barang, demand geser kiri, harga turun. Berarti uang itu sama kayak barang, interest rate itu setara sama harganya. Yang menentukan interest rate atau harga ini naik turun sama-sama demand supply. Oke? Nah, itu intisari dari bab ini. Oke, so far oke? So far oke?
Oke, kok.
Oke ya. Oke, biar sebelum kita lanjutkan bab selanjutnya, biar tidak bosen, kita kasih tugas kelompok dulu. Ini dikerjakan cepat-cepat aja, mungkin 10 menit, nanti di masing-masing share hasilnya. Nah, kita mau ngecek berapa bunga deposito 1, 3, 6, 9, dan 12 bulan dari bank-bank ini. By the way, kalian ada berapa kelompok ya? Kapan tuh?
Buat kelompok kok.
Kelompok yang kapan itu aja? Nggak usah buat kelompok baru. Berapa ya? Atau nggak usah semua kelompok lah. Kelompok mana yang mau ngerjain BCA? Jadi nanti kalian masuk ke websitenya BCA, cek bunga depositonya di BCA itu yang kalau 1 bulanan itu berapa persen, 3 bulanan berapa persen, 6, 9, 12 berapa persen. Terus cek juga BCA itu kalau ngasih pinjaman itu berapa bunganya. Oke, nanti dilaporkan di itu. Siapa kelompok mana mau ngerjain BCA?
Saya kok.
Oke, siapa ini?
Kelompoknya Sam.
Sam. Oke, kelompoknya Sam BCA. Kelompok siapa mau ngerjain mandiri?
Saya.
Siapa?
Diana.
Diana. BNI?
Saya,
Siapa?
Paul kok.
Paul, kelompoknya Paul. Danamon? Danamon, siapa yang ngerjain Danamon? Ayo, kelompok lain lagi. Yuk, gampang kok, tinggal buka websitenya aja kok.
Saya kok,
Ya, siapa ini?
Bernard.
Bernard ya, kalau Bernard Danamon. Siapa yang mau ngerjain Ubu? Lo mana mau ngerjain Ubu? Ayo.
Aku. Saya Pak. Nggak apa.
Apa? Oke. Siapa ini?
Erika.
Oke, kelompoknya Derika. Terakhir Bang Mega.
Saya kok.
Oke, siapa ini?
Yeremia.
Oke, kelompoknya Yeremia Bang Mega. Oke, kelompok lain oke lah, salah satu dari ini pilih sendiri ya, atau kalian mau cari bank lain lagi boleh ya. Oke, saya kasih waktu 10 menit ke masing-masing kelompok, buka websitenya bank-bank ini, cari bunga deposito 1, 3, 6, 9, 12. Mungkin tidak semuanya ada, mungkin ada cuma 1, 6, 12, tidak apa-apa, pokoknya seadanya. Sama cari bunga pinjaman. Bunga pinjaman ini ada macam-macam, dan tiap bank itu ada yang mengumumkan, ada yang tidak diumumkan ya sudah. Yang mengumumkan pun itu mereka baginya macam-macam. Bisa mereka nulisnya pinjaman KTA, UMKM, sama corporate gitu. Atau mereka yang masukkan cuma corporate aja gitu. Nggak apa, seadanya. Oke, nanti kita nanti masing-masing kelompok laporan hasilnya gimana. Ntar kita lihat hasilnya. Oke, 10 menit ya. Udah 10 kalau udah selesai 15 menit ya nggak apa-apa lah. Oke. Oke, silakan mulai. Oh ya, sebelum mulai kita lihat film dulu. Kita lihat video dulu.
Now that we know that we can view interest rates as essentially the price
Suaranya masuk?
Masuk, Bro.
of renting money, I want to go through a bunch of scenarios just so we can understand how different things that happen in the economy might affect interest rates. So I'll just draw a bunch of supply and demand curves right over here. And once again, we're talking about the market for essentially renting money. So that right over here is the price of money, which we know is the interest rate on the vertical axis. And then in the horizontal axis, we have the quantity of money that is borrowed or lent in a given time period. So quantity, and this is in a given time period that is borrowed or lent. So borrowed, quantity borrowed, let's just say in a quantity borrowed in a year. And we know that there's some, if we just want to draw a demand curve or a starting demand curve, the first few dollars out in the economy, people are willing to pay a very high interest rate on them. And then every incremental dollar after that, people will get less marginal benefit. They might not find as good of a place to put that money. They're borrowing it for a reason. They're either going to borrow it to consume, to buy something that they always wanted that they think will make them happy, or more likely, they're borrowing it to invest it and hopefully getting a return higher than what they are borrowing at. And so you have a marginal benefit curve that would be downward sloping, something like that. Maybe it might look something like, maybe it looks something like that. So that is our demand curve or our marginal benefit curve. And the supply curve, and once again, this is the exact same logic we use with the demand supply curve for any good or service, for money might look like this. Those first few dollars, someone has a very low opportunity cost of lending it out, so they're willing to lend it out at a very low interest rate. And then every incremental dollar after that, there's higher opportunity costs, and so people will lend it out at a higher and higher rate. And then you have a market equilibrium interest rate. And so let me copy and paste this, and then we can think about what happens in different scenarios. So copy and paste. So now we have 2 scenarios that we can work on, and then let me just do one more. 3 scenarios. Now let's think of a couple. Let's say that the central bank of our country, and in the United States that would be the Federal Reserve, the central bank prints more money and then decides to lend out that money. And that actually is, in the previous video I talked about the central bank printing money and then dropping it from helicopters. That is not how money is actually distributed. It is distributed when central banks money, the way that it enters into circulation in most countries is that the central bank then goes and essentially lends that money. The way it's done in the US Fed, for the most part, they go out and buy government securities, which is essentially lending money to the federal government. And they do that because that's considered to be the safest investment. But they go out there and they lend money. And so if more money, so if this is our original supply curve, but now your central bank is printing more money and lending it out, what is going to happen over here? Well, your supply curve is going to shift to the right. At any given price, at any given interest rate, you're going to have a larger quantity of money being available. So it might look something like, your new supply curve might look something like that. And assuming that's the only change that happens, you see its effect. Your new equilibrium price of money, the rent on money, or the interest rate on money, is now lower. And that's why when the Federal Reserve says, I want to lower interest rates, they do so by printing money. And they print that money and they lend it out in the market. And that essentially has the effect of lowering interest rates. Now let's think about another situation. Let's say, so this is the Fed prints and lends money. And they're lending the money by buying government bonds. When you buy a government bond, you're essentially lending that money to the federal government. And I've done other videos on that where we go into a little bit more detail on that. Now let's think of another situation. Let's think about consumer savings go down. So one interesting thing about savings and investment are two opposite sides of the same coin. So when you save money, you literally put it into a bank, so that you have the whole financial system right over here. So this is the financial system. That money goes out and it is lent to other people. And then for the most part, hopefully, that money when it's lent is used to invest in some way. So this is lending. So if consumer savings goes down, that means that the supply of money will be shifted to the left. At any given price or any given interest rate, there will be less money available. So in this situation, our supply curve is shifting to the left. And just that would increase interest rates. And then you could even make an argument that if consumer savings is going down, consumers are going to borrow less as well, and you could argue that maybe demand would go up as well, and so your demand could go up, and that would make the equilibrium interest rate even higher. Now let's do another scenario. Let's say that the federal government, in an effort to, let's say that they for whatever reason they're trying to finance a war or some type of public works project, and they don't want to raise taxes, so the government decides to borrow a lot more money. So the government is essentially going to go into a deeper, is going to expand its deficit. Government is going to borrow money. So here our supply isn't changing. I'm assuming that the central bank isn't changing its policies, how much it's printing, and savings rates aren't changing. But the demand is going to go up. The government is borrowing money. So the government is going to borrow more money than it was already doing. At any given price, the demand for money is going to increase. We're going to shift to the right, and our new equilibrium interest rate, remember the rental price of money, is going to go up. So the whole point of this is just to show you that you really can think about money like any other good or service. If the supply of money goes up, then the price of money, which is interest rates, will go down. Let me write this down. So if the supply goes up, then the price, which is just interest rates goes down. If the demand goes up, then the price. If the demand goes up, then the price of money will go up. So interest rates will go up. And then we could think about all of the other combinations where one, demand goes down, then interest rates would go down, which is essentially just price. If supply went down, interest rates would go up. If something becomes more scarce, the price of it goes up. So the whole point of this is just to show that it's not that complicated. You'll see people say, oh, government borrowing, it's crowding out other savings, interest rates go up, and it sounds like something deep is happening, but they're just talking about the supply and demand for money. And you just have to remember that interest rates really are nothing more than the rental price for money.
Oke, jadi silakan mulai masuk ke websitenya bank-bank itu, terus di apa cek ya apa bunga